Hey everybody, my name is Jordy and I'm an artist living in Norman, Oklahoma. Today Chris asked me to make a little video for you guys and tell you about line and specifically how I use line in my art. So let's get started. So as you guys likely know, line is an element of art that is used to delineate the edges between objects or between spaces. Basically, line is what makes a boundary between things. And line is something that is huge in my art. Probably because from a very young age, I've been someone who loves to doodle. And as you can see in my journal here, I like to fill in empty spaces with all kinds of doodles. So the thing about line is you can use line to communicate so many different things. You can communicate motion, direction, rhythm. You can use heavy lines that are thick and bold or delicate lines that are thin. What I like to do in my journal, particularly while I'm listening to a podcast or if I'm on the phone with someone, is find empty spaces and just doodle and practice making marks and making different kinds of lines. So there's, like I said, all different kinds of ways to approach line. And one thing that you might consider is whether your lines are organic, which means curvy and flowy, or rectilinear, which means they have sharp edges and 90-degree angles like rectangles. So if we go through this journal and look at some of my doodles, you can see that I really like organic lines that flow and are soft and kind of remind you of things in nature like flowers or leaves. But sometimes I experiment with rectilinear lines like down here in this part where you can see I've got sharp edges and corners. In this journal entry, I went back and filled in extra spaces with all different kinds of lines. I really like this up here that has cross-hatching, stippling, where you use lots of little dots to make a stippled effect. And then I've got more of those organic lines I talked about here. On this side is one of my favorite things to do, which is lay down a wash of color and then just doodle all over it. Here you can see another example of how line can portray different things. I like in this piece how I've got lots of black lines, but also white lines. And if you can see some metallic lines here on this part. And here's just some more examples of different kinds of lines I like to draw to keep my skills fresh, and sometimes to just relax. I've noticed there are certain types of lines I like more than others. I definitely like curves, and I like things that look like tentacles or like petals or like sea anemones. And also, if you guys notice, I like to practice with different kinds of lines, even in the words I write, to get different effects. So now, let's put that to the side, and I'll show you some works in progress. Here's a big piece I started like a million years ago and then didn't finish. I can zoom out. And you can see that I've got that doodling technique all throughout. It's basically one giant doodle on top of a wash of color, a wash of rainbow color. And we've got some variety of lines here. These lines, as we mentioned earlier, are a little more rectilinear because of the sharp edges. They're also very thin. And then we've got organic lines that are thick, flowers, grass or tentacles. In this part, you see the rhythm portrayed by line. Rhythm is when you have kind of the same element repeating over and over predictably. So there's a rhythm in the way these concentric circles repeat themselves. Here's another work in progress where I laid down some color. Are you starting to see a pattern? I laid down some color and then I've been adding in different lines as I go here and there. Once again, we have a different weight in lines. Here, these lines are thin and light. Over here, these lines are thick and heavy. I've also got some gold in here instead of just black. I want to show you guys a piece in my sketchbook that is all line. This one I think is really cool because I like how there's contrast. We have like heavy dark spaces here, 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 and then like delicate lines in these other parts. So kind of a variety. You can still see that I mostly focus on organic curved shapes, but here and there are some sharp edges that I incorporate. Also variety once again in the weight of lines, heavy versus light. Now I'll show you a couple of finished pieces. Here's one I finished not too long ago. And this was a little bit of an experiment for me because, as you can tell, I love black lines and black line work, but in this piece, most of the lines are actually different colors. The line that makes this pattern that swirls through the background is white, and then if you zoom in, you can see gold. But I've also got black lines in a few strategic places. And I did that on purpose because I wanted to experiment with limiting the amount of black lines I was using. So I've only got black lines really prominently on the edges of the piece and then on the serpent here in the middle. This is another finished piece. This is one I just kind of did for fun here and there until it looked done. And this is an example of really just doing what I like instead of trying to experiment as much. Pretty much all the lines you see are soft and curvy and organic. I hardly have any sharp edges or rectilinear lines. Also, I was playing a little bit with how white lines look against a wash of color. Also, we've got some metallic parts here and there. And you can start to see how there's certain types of lines that kind of make their way into every piece that I do, which is how style works. The more you work on your art, the more you see what you like, and the more you repeat what you like, and then before you know it, a style kind of naturally emerges. The last piece I'll show you is another work in progress. So I'm Choctaw, and it's really important for me to incorporate native symbology into my pieces. So this is sort of an abstract take on a thunderbird, and I was experimenting with different lines in this piece as well. We've got thin lines, and then thicker, heavier lines. I've also got lines in different colors on this piece. Lots of black work, which, like I said, I really love how that looks, but white as well, and some different colors here and there, like this is metallic green. If we can bring that a little bit closer. Anyway, I hope that seeing some of these pieces and hearing someone talk about the way they use line has inspired you and maybe motivated you to experiment with different types of line work in your own art. So thanks for letting me share, and I'll see you guys next time.